Hi everybody, a very welcome to Mentour, yet another video podcast. As always, I hope you're all doing fantastic. So, today on the podcast, guys, I'm going to talk about something that is very close to my heart. It's how to keep the life balance as an airline pilot. Okay, this is something that I'm getting tons of questions about, so I know that you guys are interested. Make sure that you keep watching this to the end, and I think that you are going to like it. Okay, so I'm going to divide this into different parts, okay? And I'm going to just give you my tips and my experiences from my own life. I want to start by saying as well that I have only been flying short to medium haul. So whatever references that I make to long haul flying, it's going to be based largely on the feedback that I've had from my friends who are in the long haul industry. So when it comes to keeping your life quality and your life balance as a pilot, there are a couple of key things that you need to do. First of all, you need to know what is important, guys. And what is important, and I can say this without a shadow of a doubt, is your family and your friends and the people that you like spending time with. Okay, it is not good pay, flashy hotels, sandy beaches. It just isn't. You might think that it is at the moment, but it isn't. So, how can you keep that on the right keel? How can you keep yourself from losing the perspective? Well, I've found, my experience has taught me that if you have a good communication with the people around you that matters the most, your spouse or your parents or your kids, it helps a lot. So when it comes to the beginning of your airline career or the beginning of your flight training, which probably most of you are at the moment, I would start by informing all of my friends around me and my parents, for example, that during this time, it's going to be a period of maybe 2 years if you're doing the integrated training. You are going to have to focus your entire energy on doing that well. That means that you are going to be a little bit more away from your friends than you would have normally been. You might miss some social gatherings and stuff like that. But I've found that if you do communicate this with them and they know why this is happening, it's less likely to create conflict. Okay, so if they know that, Joe Blogs, he's away doing his training, that's why he's not coming to the birthday party or that, then it's easier. It doesn't create as much friction. Okay, and this is going to be something that will go on for your entire life. The better you kind of prepare the people around you, the better the expectations that they have match up with what's actually happening, the easier life will be. So that's what I would do in the phase of the training. Then once your training is complete, you're going to go into a phase of your life where you are going to have to look for a job. Now, finding a job in the airline industry is fairly hard. Okay, there are jobs out there, but they might not be exactly where you are. It might be in a different part of the country, or it might be in a different part of the world. And once again, it's really important that you communicate this with your spouse or with the people around you so that they are aware that you might be moving away. It might not be forever. You might need to move for a couple of years to get the required experience, and then you'll be able to apply back to a job that is more geographically suited to you and your family. But there is a possibility that you might have to go away, and you have to mentalize that, and you have to make sure that the people around you are aware of that as well. Okay. Then comes the eternal question that most of you guys are asking me: what about long haul? What about the dream I had? Okay, most of you guys, when you're thinking about becoming a pilot, I know that you're picturing flying away on a 777 to a different part of the world, staying on sandy beaches in nice hotels, getting paid shitloads of money. Alright? Yeah. So, those jobs, they do exist. Okay. They're out there. The problem, though, is that most of these jobs, in order to apply for them, you are going to need a quite significant amount of experience. And normally that's experience on heavy jets, so like 737s or Airbus or something similar like that. In order for you to get a job, to acquire the hours needed to be able to apply for these long haul companies, it will take you a certain amount of years, right? First, you have to find a job, and then you have to work in that job for a number of years in order to accrue the experience needed. Now, what tends to happen is that people start their training in their 20s, and once all of this is done, you're 25, 26, 27, or close to your 30s. In that same time, in the same period of your life, there's other things happening. It's likely that you have found a spouse, and it's also likely that you're about to start a family. So, what tends to happen then is that dream you had, about the sandy beaches and being away in fancy hotels is still there. However, now you will have a little toddler, a little son or a little daughter running around your legs. And all of a sudden, your whole perspective of the world and what you want and your targets will change. Okay? So, this is my experience. When I was in the same situation myself, I chose not to apply for the long haul jobs that were available, because I saw that was going to take me away from my little boys and my wife for too long time, and I was just not ready for that in that segment of my life, in that kind of part of my life. You might choose differently, and a lot of my friends have. A lot of my friends are happy with their choice, and some of them were less happy. Okay, that's going to be the same everywhere. However, I think that if you do choose to go for the long haul job when you have a young family, then you need to once again make sure that you communicate well with your spouse so that their experience and their expectations on you matches up with what's actually going to happen. You have to be very and brutally honest with the fact that you are going to be away for a large amount of time. Okay, you're going to be away for days at end, but you're also going to be home. And the time that you're home, you can make up a routine where you make sure that you spend as much time as possible with your family when you're home, and you can divide the chores at home to make sure that you're not having to do everything when you get back, because that's a source of a lot of friction as well. But that you have a good system in force, and that both you and your spouse and your kids know what the deal is before you start. Might also help to have kind of a time horizon on it, to say let's try this for 3, 4, 5 years and see how it feels, and if we like it we continue, and if we dislike it we'll just try to get back again. But have some kind of system in force. That's the key I want to get to here. Okay. Then if you choose not to, if you choose to stay in whatever part of the world that you're from, and you choose to go for maybe a medium or a short haul operator instead, then there might be choices between airlines that have, for example, fixed roster patterns or flexible roster patterns. The way to choose there, at least my experience has been to try to find a employer that gives you a fixed roster pattern. Why is that? Well, it's very simple, really. The older you become, the more you have family and kids growing up, the more important it's going to be for you to be able to predict when you are off and when you're available to do certain things. It might be soccer practice, it might be weddings, it might be just having a dinner with the friends. But the key is that if you have a fixed roster pattern, even if it's a roster pattern that rotates over the week, if it's fixed, you will be able to predict it, so you will be able to tell your friends that yes, on Wednesday the 13th I will be available, so let's go for a dinner then. As opposed to having a roster pattern which constantly changes, where you're working 3 days, you're off 2 days, you're working 2 days, you're off 5 days, and things like that. Because with that kind of roster pattern, it would be very, very hard to predict things. And my experience is that when it's hard to predict things, it's less likely that you will actually plan things. And when you can't plan things, eventually your friends are going to stop trying to plan things with you, and that's going to have a detrimental effect on your social life in general, and also on your family life. So that's it. I would probably choose a fixed roster pattern with slightly lower pay over a non-fixed roster pattern with higher pay. But once again, this is only me. This is only my own thoughts of this. On a final note, guys, something that I feel that I have to work on myself, but I can see it all around me, is when you're at home, when you're with your family and when you're friends or with your parents, make sure that you spend time with them. Okay, make sure that you actually talk to them, engage in proper conversation. Try not to look down on your mobile phones, and updating Facebook is not going to be the most important thing, and it's not the thing that you will remember in 10 years when you're looking back to the time when your kids were small. What you put into Facebook and what kind of status or how many likes you got on that Facebook status update is not going to be what matters. What's going to matter is the amount of smiles that you got from your little kids, the laughs that you had with your spouse, things like that. And I feel this is an area where I have to work on myself, but I feel that the more we go into social media, social networking and so on, the more we actually have to consciously think about these things. Remember what's important, guys. Remember the people around you. That's it, guys. Obviously, there's more to talk on this topic, so please feel free to send in questions. If you, just put them into the comment section below, or send me a private message here on YouTube. Feel free to share this video if you thought it was helpful with your friends, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, things like that. And I hope you're all doing fantastic. Thank you very much for all of you who are supporting the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.